Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an Evazine. Blast off, blast off, blast off, blast off. Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an Evazine. Blast off, blast off, blast off, blast off.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello. Well, we got something special today. Something very special, in my opinion. A very special individual. He is the type of person that doesn't come around usually but once a generation. And I'm talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Tom Dongo from Arizona. He is the author of a variety of books, over 12 distinct works: Merging Dimensions, The Opening of Portals of Sedona, The Mysteries of Sedona, The New Age Frontier, The Alien Tide, Mysteries of Sedona Book 2, The Quest in Pursuit of Mastery, Unseen Beings, Unseen Worlds, Shining the Light, everything you want to know about Sedona in a nutshell. And there's nobody who can talk the opening of portals and the unseen beings like Tom Dongo. He is, if you want to compare it to the old Sherman Ranch or the Utah UFO Ranch that everyone knows about. There is a ranch in Arizona known as the Bradshaw Ranch, which is every bit as active. It is amazing. It's definitely got proximity portal activity, and we're going to have the guy that knows the most about it explain it. So I've talked to Tom before. He's a gem of an individual, just a genuinely good person. And he actually cares about the well-being of others. Something that's hard to find these days, especially when it comes into researchers and egos and all these things that Tom's not that about, really, at all. And he wholeheartedly was there when the activity started with Mrs. Bradshaw. And he saw the paths of power that this activity took and how it interacted with the people that were there on the property. And he was one of them. It's very likely that he is the equivalent of a Ryan Layton to the old Sherman property or the Utah UFO Ranch, many names. And this is, like I said, the Bradshaw Ranch has secrets all its own. It's very important not to box, compartmentalize, and try to make one paranormal property more important than another, because they are all connected, and it's important to realize this. So without further ado, I mean, the knowledge that's going to come from Tom is not only from the source, but it's some of the best knowledge there is out here. So Tom Dongo, coming up. Hi, Tom.
Yeah, hi, Ryan.
How's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. It's finally cooling off down here in Arizona. It's been a brutally hot summer.
Oh my gosh, it's been bad here in Vegas where I'm at too, but in
Arizona.
Arizona,
Oh yeah, Vegas, same thing. Yeah.
Man, it's a pleasure and an honor to have you on the podcast. I went through a variety of the works that you've written regarding this subject, and interdimensional beings, entities. I love in your writing you mention them, the unseen, and it's just so cool. I have so many questions and so many places I want to start, but I wanted to begin with merging dimensions. My gosh, can you tell us, was the activity that you're aware of, Tom, there prior to Linda arriving, after she arrived, or was it something when you looking back? When did you first get the specific idea that this had been here for a specific amount of time?
Well, I've been in Sedona. I'm in Conrad now, but I was in Sedona 32 years, and as soon as I got there, I started hearing these crazy stories about aliens and UFOs and really, really strange stuff going on. So I started digging into it, and then I got enough information to write a book, Alien Tide, and it kind of went from there. And then I got to meet Linda Bradshaw, and then it really took off. So as a result, I've written 7 books that are pretty much on that same subject, the whole thing.
And they're all must reads. They really are. The the other thing I wanted to point out is, I mean, being a resident there, the thousands of miles that you hiked, checking out those deserts, those canyons. I mean, the type of research has changed significantly. There's a lot of armchair researchers nowadays that never leave their office.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And I just find that in your works of literature, that comes right through. It comes right through, and I think that's why your books are just so intriguing, and they draw people in because it's just honest, and it's not sugar-coated. It's just what it is. And there were a bunch more questions I wanted to ask you. When did you first see something on the property?
Oh, almost immediately. I spent 4.5 hours on the Bradshaw Ranch. The Bradshaw Ranch was completely different than any other place in the world ever, I think. 'Cause I know the Skinwalker Ranch intimately, and the Stardust Ranch. I stayed away from the Stardust Ranch. That place scared me. It really did. The stuff that went on down there, and other places. So what happened on what happened on the Bradshaw Ranch was completely good. I mean, wasn't anything bad happened on the Bradshaw Ranch. It could have been. There was plenty of opportunity for it, but Linda and I've said in my lectures that Linda and I were never hurt in any way with all the stuff that went on the Bradshaw Ranch. And it was pretty incredible. There's 3 books been written about it. Linda wrote one, and I wrote 2. It's all about the Bradshaw Ranch, and it's still. There's a phenomena I'm really, really happy that I got to be involved with, because it was a life-changing experience. The things that we ran into there, that and unseen creatures that we probably rubbed shoulders with constantly, and I think they could see us, but we couldn't see them. It was and then creatures we're seeing on the Bradshaw Ranch. Well, they still are even today. There's still strange things are happening on the Bradshaw Ranch, so it's probably going to continue for quite a while. And the University of Northern Arizona has a lease on the Bradshaw Ranch now through the Forest Service, and they're going to build a dormitory. They're going to bulldoze the ranch houses and build a dormitory right where the ranch houses were. So it's going to be, it's going to be pretty interesting. The stories I'm going to hear, I'm sure, are going to be very, very interesting.
Yes, and with those stories, would you say that the phenomena is associated only with the ranch, or is it associated with the whole area?
Well, I think it was centered in the Bradshaw Ranch, but I've run into what I ran into in the Bradshaw Ranch, I run into in all the canyons, and it goes back as far as 1922. The first paranormal incident of cowboys running into a UFO was in 1922 in Secret Canyon. So it's been there for a while.
Wow, 1922. And some of those canyons, the energy is just, it's very hard. I don't think you can get to many of those canyons anymore. Almost all of them have been either closed off by the Forest Service, like you said, for checking things out, or they're private. There's and they're all fenced off, from what I understand. But those are all magical places as well.
Yeah, well, Secret Canyon is still the best. And I was in Boynton Canyon 2 weeks ago. I haven't been in Boynton Canyon for about 5 years, probably 5 to 8 years, and the energy is back up in Boynton Canyon now. It's just what it was 30 years ago. It's really surprised me, because there were so many people that have been in Boynton Canyon. It just dissipated to the point where there was no energy left. But it's back up to what it was. I don't know why, but it's. I was kind of excited to find it like it was. And some incredibly strange things happened in Boynton Canyon.
However, would you say that these entities or energies they recharge, possibly.
Yeah, I think they do for some reason. I don't know why. It probably has something to do with earth energy or whatever, but it kind of, throughout the, there's just too many people here now. That's the drawback. There's too many people. There's too many people who've moved here, so a lot of what was isn't anymore. So I don't know, but the UFO activity has really been, it comes and goes. And when it's intense here, we just had a UFO flap here just a few weeks ago, a strange storm, really strange storm that headed this way, then dissipated, and some kind of a huge object flew through it at 180 miles an hour, and the whole thing disappeared. People witnessed it. They saw it happen. And somebody called me and they said, Tom, you drew a picture 30 years ago of a UFO. It's exactly like that one that flew through the storm. And I said, really? I totally didn't remember it. But she said, yeah, that's exactly what you drew. So I'm going, well, okay, I totally don't remember it. But right after that, we had a pretty significant UFO flap. We had in Rimrock, some people watched it was broad daylight, about 2 o'clock in the day, and people watched a UFO hovering over Wet Beaver Creek. It's a pretty good-sized river. And it was sucking water out of the creek, and I didn't get to talk to these people. I just don't have the time to chase these people down anymore. And right after that, some people right near me in Cornville, for an hour and a half, a huge cigar-shaped ship hovered over their house. They stood out there and watched it. So here we got a case of mind control and missing time. No photographs are taken. But I'm sure under hypnosis some strange things happen to those people. And this is broad daylight. And they said it was huge and it had a dome on the top. So, yeah, pretty strange.
Do you think that there are portals in the area? Are there portals? Are they constant, intermittent? Are they in one location in one time? And what are they, or where are they?
Oh, there's a lot of controversy about the vortexes and the portals and stuff around here, but it's real. I mean, it's stuff that people experience. I did vortex tours the first 2 years I was in Sedona. That's how I made my living. I had a chance to watch, the effects of the vortexes. And there aren't just 4; there are hundreds of them here in the canyon. So I got to watch. They affected women mostly, and it was could be pretty dramatic. I'd say maybe 5 out of 10 people that would be affected by the vortexes, and it affected everybody in different ways. And it was mostly mental healing. I only remember one physical healing. But to me, it was kind of like getting a tune-up. Walking into a vortex was, I believe, if I remember right, it was 7.8 hertz, and that's supposedly, from what I understand, the perfect vibration of a human body. So, but at any rate, people came back out. They said, "I feel wonderful." And some of them I would contact a couple weeks later, or they'd call me, and I'd say, "How you doing?" They'd say, "Oh, just fantastic. All the problems I had, I was worried about, are gone." So there you go.
Wow. I wanted to ask you something that is of interest, like a huge interest to me. In chapter 3 of the book, you mentioned the invisibles. And if you don't mind, I want to read, because I love your description of, because like you said, I mean, there's similarities to like other areas, like the old Sherman place, but this is such a great description. Quickly lifted his camera over his head and focused on a being which was directly behind him. He did this without turning around. Tom then quickly brought the camera to his side and directed it behind him to catch the body. When the photos came back, we were both somewhat surprised. There was a definite being with a head and body. Due to angle from the camera in which it was directed, only the forehead and hair was visible on one photo. On the other photo, there was a definite body visible. That's intense.
Yeah, we Linda and I, we're all my books are going out of print, but they're on ebooks and Kindle. The only one we're reprinting Merging Dimension. We're totally overhauling Merging Dimensions right now with new photographs, really good photographs. And then we developed the film the next day and see what was on the film. And sometimes it was stunning. I mean, just absolutely incredible. One night, all the best photographs I have, we got them in one night. The very best ones I've got. We got them all in one night.
All in one night.
Yeah, okay,
so the energy was high.
We were being watched constantly by creatures, something, and we found after about 2 years we figured out that both of our cameras, the old 35 millimeter cameras, when they were powered up and the flash was ready, it had a little red light on the little red light on the back of the camera. So we found out that we were getting strange photographs. It didn't make any sense. So we figured out that they were watching that red light, and when we brought the camera up, they would duck out of the way or get in front of the camera or whatever. So what we did was we started putting our thumb over that red light, and then just we'll be walking along and take a photograph over our heads or behind us and whatnot. That's when we started getting some really spectacular stuff. And one night I went into my van to reload my camera. I had a big Dodge van then, and I sensed that something. Well, a couple of times. The first time I smelled burning tar and sulfur followed me into my van. It was strong. And another night I knew something was behind me, so I reloaded my camera, got it all powered up, and turned around real quick and took a flash. I pressed the shutter button before I was all the way around, so I couldn't get out of the way. I pressed the shutter button, and to this day I feel bad about this. I think I heard something really bad. There was kind of an explosion in front of the camera, and it looked like a huge daisy. It just flashed out like a daisy, and then it wilted. It just kind of melted right in front of me, and I go, wow. So I have no idea what that was, but I think I caught something totally by surprise and heard it. I think it got hurt. So, that's the kind of stuff that went on the Bradshaw Ranch every night.
Yeah. And this augmented reality that you had through this portal proximity and the ability that you had to actually photograph it is stunning. I was really impressed that, so far ahead of your time, Tom, you had, it was a different term than what people use now. You called them house guests. And loosely, I use that term loosely. I'll just read it says, so I use this term house guests loosely because these particular guests were not invited. One evening I was sitting in the living room and looked up to see a cloud of energy hovering in the corner of the room. This was a new one. I'd seen balls of light in the house, which is not uncommon for some people, but never had I witnessed this form in the house before. Not wanting to miss the opportunity to record it, I hurried to the kitchen for my camera, which was sitting on the counter. I reached for the camera, and in my surprise and amazement, I realized that this body of energy had followed me into the kitchen and was now wrapping itself around my legs. The distinct sensation of electrical ions pricked at me. I was furious, but not angry enough to miss a good shot, so I aimed the camera directly at my legs and feet and snapped the shutter. On certain terms, I apologize, I then told this whatever to leave. Did it leave? Because this is a term that's so far ahead of its time, Tom. Everybody now calls them hitchhikers or unwanted guests, or
right.
But you called them, I love that you called them house guests because they were there. And
well, actually, Linda Bradshaw wrote that. She wrote the first half of the book, and I wrote the second. That's something she wrote. But
wow.
The stuff that happens, because it was Linda and Bob were there all the time, and there was a. I mean, this is almost too hard to believe. If I didn't know Linda that well, and I trusted her 110%. So she never made any of this stuff up. But there was Linda had a bad back, so she slept on the couch out in the living room, and she put her camera on the coffee table in front of the couch, and something picked her camera up and over three, and it took pictures everywhere except one night it took. Say that again.
Oh, we lost you for just a couple seconds. Yep, no worries. So it
okay.
did what? It did what?
You got me now?
We got you.
You got me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so something was picking up the camera off the coffee table, and over a 3-month period, it took 49 photographs inside the ranch house, except where Linda was sleeping. One night, it took a panorama all around the inside of the living room, and but didn't take a picture of Linda. So, whatever took these pictures was 3 feet tall, because we figured that out from the angle that the creature held the camera. So one night there were 6 of us sitting around the kitchen table, and I said, "Let's dust the camera with baby powder and see if this thing picks it up tonight." So we did. We dusted the camera with baby powder, and it picked the camera up. And it took one picture, and it's in Merging Dimensions, my book, and Linda's book, the prints that it left on the camera. One on the end of the camera was a square, and the one on top looked like a print with a claw, a furry finger with a claw on it. And it's real clear. So it never came back. It never took another picture inside the ranch house.
It's almost as if getting caught for these tricksters, or whatever you want to call them, these dimensional entities that are able to fold time and space and seek paths into another alternate reality, augmented through a portal proximity, I assume. We really don't know. These are all theories, but the evidence is there. And I won't go into my story, but I'm a 100% believer from what I experienced and others in the area during a stay and this is prior. Anyway, this is, regardless, there is definitely a dimensionality and a portal-ish proximity feel to this. You get, I don't want to call it an augmented reality, but you see into a different reality, or a different reality comes into ours, which is more likely.
Yeah, well, it's around us. We're surrounded by unseen beings. I mean, Linda and I found that out on the Bradshaw Ranch. I mean, we could actually feel them moving around us at night, and I think that some of what they were rubbed off on me and Linda. Mm-hmm. I have an extreme remote viewing ability. I can look into a human body even thousands of miles away. I just did it with a woman in Singapore. So distance is no fact. I've done this on hundreds of people. It's like X-ray vision, seeing into a human body, but it's really remote viewing. And I just realized that I've been doing this my whole life. Mm-hmm. I guess I'm a natural remote viewer, because a psychologist friend of mine tested me on it once for 3 months, and it was pretty amazing. So I do have an amazing remote viewing ability.
Oh, absolutely. And the interesting thing is, these are areas, at least geographically and geologically speaking, at least even the native shaman of the area were encountering similar lights in the sky, encountering similar abilities, encountering similar secrets, geomancy. Like, it's basically special areas of the earth produce a certain kind of energy that can be tapped into, whether somebody wants to or not. It's just kind of mixed in and recorded into your DNA, and when you navigate, you may actually be able to pull back a file and reach into your quiver, so to speak. Geographic locations are recharging. That energy's going somewhere. Is it the entities, the observers, the other animals in the area that happen to see things, or is it reactionary? Is it intimately involved with whatever they are seeing for whatever reason? That I don't know. But other people believe that it is more just like, oh, you just saw something that's happening all the time. It's an intermittent portal. And I think that there is a residual truth to that as well. I mean, this has been going on for centuries, hasn't it, Tom?
Well, yeah, I've seen most of the Sonala petroglyphs that are in the canyons here, and some of them are really strange. I mean, I met an archaeologist that he said a lot of this they're just doodling. Really doesn't mean anything. So I'm sure that's true. But the Indians, well, of course, the Indians they didn't have to deal with the stuff that we do now. So they were probably really in tune with Earth energies and creatures and probably even extraterrestrials. But it would be really interesting to go back 1,000 years and just hang around the Indians for a while, see what they knew. But it would have been interesting.
They were much more. I think you're right. They were much more intimately involved with the planet upon which they lived, and even the dynamics of some of those canyons and some of those energies that are seeping out for whatever reason from the core of the earth or through portal. Like, I love the word portal because, like you said, I mean, the first time I went to Sedona, you hear all the vortex, portal stuff, UFOs, and I'm thinking, okay, I've lived next to Skinwalker Ranch. This is not this. Let me see what's, come on, feeling like, oh, I knew something. But what I realized is it's a completely different something. And it's just as powerful, just as amazing, just as intuitive and intelligently. Like you said, these are actual entities. They have actual traits and some of the things I witnessed, I mean, aren't possible. And so I believe 100%. I mean, it's really pretty amazing the research that you were doing in this area, and the time frame that you were doing it was very, very, very close. In fact, with the time frame that the Sherman Ranch was having an explosion of activity.
Well, everybody knows that Bigfoot exists. Scientists say they don't because there's no proof. Well, there's tons of proof. I've found tracks in the canyons, and recently, these creatures materialize and dematerialize somehow, and I know Bigfoot can do that. Mm-hmm. But this fellow, he was in Lincoln Canyon, and he photographed what has to be a dogman track. And I thought, oh great, we got dogmen around here, and it's clearly, to me and to a lot of other people, it's a dogman track, and it was down on leaning on the bone behind its paw. It's about dogman size. It's pretty big, about as big as your hand. You can open your hand. Mm-hmm. So I followed. I'm pushing 75 now, so I don't get out like I used to when I was younger. But I don't know how many times I found tracks in the canyons that started and stopped. And I used to talk about this with the tour guides around here, and the ones that get into the woods, they've seen them too. And I found still kind of gives me the creeps a little bit. I was the difference between me and armchair researchers is I go out on their turf. I hunt them on their turf, and mm-hmm. Sometimes I think I'm pretty lucky not to have gotten hurt. Well, this one night I actually took I have an M1 carbine. I actually took it with me. The only time I've ever taken a gun with me, and it turns out it probably came in real handy. I was at the south end of the Bradshaw Ranch, and for some reason, I found some tracks of an ATV that went. Now there's ATVs everywhere, but back in those days, it wasn't. So I'm following these tracks down through the bushes, and on the way, they dug a V-shaped, like somebody was going to pitch a tent and dug a drainage around it, but it was impossible for a tent. It's the wrong place. And rock hard ground, and somebody would have had to really worked hard to dig that V into the ground, and it was about 6 inches into the ground. I still can't figure that out. So anyway, I continued on following the ATV down in the flats, and I came to a place where they had got out. It was real sandy, it was sandy bottom with bushes all around the place, and so I was just kind of looking around. And they both had the exact same shoes. They were about size 11, Yeah, they both had the brand name on the bottom, so they're both the same. So both guys had the same shoes. You know, were they government issue? Probably. So anyway, I'm looking around. These guys wandered all over the place, and then I found some other tracks that were mixed in with these guys' tracks. It was a barefoot human track, and it weighed about 1,000 pounds. I got into a little bit. Roger Lear and I ended up being just the best of friends. But when I did a talk in Los Angeles, I brought this up in a talk, and Roger, right in the middle of my talk, spoke up. He said, "That's impossible, Tom. That's anatomically impossible." I said, "No, it isn't, Roger. It's what if it came from a different universe?" He had no answer for that. So anyway, another dimension. What if it came from another dimension? So So I'm going around looking at all these tracks. You know, was the creature there first, or did those guys meet the creature there and they were together, or did the creature come after they left? You know, so I'm looking around and I saw where the creature went up an embankment. It was kind of like loam. You know, it was not sand. I found a track that was still filling with water. It scared the hell out of me, because the bushes are so thick down there. I said, that damn thing is right here somewhere watching me. And I had that M1 carbine in my hand. If I had to, I probably could have done some damage, but I beat it out of there in a hurry. That's probably one of the weirdest things I ever got involved with on Bradshaw Ranch.
Wow. It's pretty amazing, like the difference in research, like you were saying. And I mean, like you said, you're 75. I didn't see you that long ago. I mean, gosh, it was a bit ago, but you were in better shape than that I remember. And, you know, a question that I wanted to ask you is anybody doing any real scientific research like you were in 1995 in this area?
No, not really. There's, the TV crews come here and they do, stuff just for make things more spectacular. And some of the stuff they do, measuring the energy and all that, is really kind of BS. I mean, it's exaggerated stuff. This one guy, I'm trying to think of his name, I can't offhand, but he has done measurements here. I just can't. Oh, Benjamin Lonetree. He has been here. He's real credible, and but no real. When the camera crews come here, I've done so many interviews, and some of these, they bring their damn skeptics with them, the debunkers. Drives me nuts. It really does, because they're there being paid to debunk you, and it really pisses me off. Mm-hmm. In the future, if a TV crew comes here and they got a debunker with them, I won't deal with them. I just don't do it anymore.
I wanted to ask you, Benjamin Lonetree, that's the same vortex energy. He goes into the vortex theory, right? The law of like resonance and
yeah.
So these areas, well, I'll ask you this. What is the best evidence to date on the existence of dimensional portals in Sedona or the area or the Bradshaw Ranch? What's been the most impressive that you've seen? Because I think you saw it in a special magical time.
Well, it'd be basically word of mouth. When Linda and I were on the ranch, we had countless crews from NBC, Universal Studios, the cable networks, and every one of those crews was dumbfounded by what happened to them. So they'd go back, and I would tell them, we need equipment. All we have are 35 millimeter flash cameras. That's all we have. That's all we could afford. And we needed some cameras like the Betacam cameras. At the time, it was a $100,000 camera. It was the only camera that would film in the dark. Mm-hmm. And I tell them, go back and tell your bosses what you saw. You even got film evidence, and we tell them we need radar, we need ground penetrating radar, we need cameras, and we will give them, all rights to anything that they get. They got shot down every single time. They got nowhere.
Yeah, it's so less about real research nowadays than it is about dollars and cents. And unfortunately, that's where I have so much respect for people like these independent, private individuals who are like Bigelow, and others, who are putting so much of their own money into these areas that are fringe areas or areas that are a wild bet, and yet it's paying off for them. I have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah. You can't have any strings on you. You've got to, and I never did. And I've had some experiences and luckily I was able to write books, about it. But some of the things I've had happen to me were beyond belief. I mean, but it happened, and most of the time I had witnesses to prove it. They'll say, "Well, Tom, do you have any proof?" I said, "Yeah, 3 witnesses, eyewitnesses that saw exactly the same thing I did." But there's not a lot of, other than photographs, there's really not a lot of proof except for eyewitness stuff and first person stuff and that. But yeah, Linda and I tried to get the best science. I told them we need scientific equipment here, and we didn't get anywhere. We got absolutely nothing. Mm-hmm. No response from I remember Universal Studios real well, and they wouldn't put a penny into it. And it was a time when the stuff in the Bradshaw Ranch was at its peak, but they I guess not enough money in it or something. I don't know.
Right, that's the problem. It's hard to get people to donate to a cause. It really is. And, when people do, it's like very refreshing that people believe enough to, in stuff like your research and what you found and your books. I mean, the variety of books. And I think the path that you took with your books is very unique. Can you tell our guests about your books, where they can get them if they're available? And I know how that is. I have books that aren't available as well. I know how that goes.
Yeah. Well, they're Amazon.com. They're on ebooks and Kindle. All my paper books are going out of print. Amazon has a few left, and we are reprinting Merging Dimensions, but they're all going out of print right now, paper print. Mm-hmm. So that's Merging Dimensions will be the only book I have left pretty soon. It's going to be really, really improved. We're changing the covers, the inside stuff, and all the photographs were changing. So it's going to be a really good book. I got a story for you. We were trying to get people involved in the Bradshaw Ranch. I mean, big money people, right? Mm-hmm. So I had a friend of mine. I got to be friends with him when NBC was out here. He was a top producer for NBC. And I told him, we need equipment, we need money. And so he did the very best he could to get us whatever we needed, And he was really enthusiastic. And so one day I got an email from him. He was scared to death. Somebody obviously got to him, who maybe the government found out about it. I don't know, but he dropped it like a hot brick. But he was really enthusiastic about doing a whole series on the stuff that occurred at the Bradshaw Ranch and some other stuff. I wanted him to, and I gave this to this idea to a number of studios, and to my knowledge, nobody did it. But the stuff that goes on the Indian reservations is far and above the stuff that goes on, with us white folks. Because I dealt for quite a while with the Hopis and the Navajos, and I heard the stories. They don't get excited about it at all. I mean, one woman had an alien craft land in her front yard. They got out, walked around. She went out and talked to them, and they got back in their ship and flew away. And I ran into that about a half a dozen times. It's no big deal to them, but I said, listen. I knew I had a real strong contact with the Navajos. They trusted me because I had some Navajo friends that were in on this with me. So we wanted to do with NBC. We wanted to do a show, all the Indian reservations, and the ones in Washington State were actually the most traumatic that I know of. But we wanted to do a show, and my friend in New York was really promoting this to do a show, interview the Indians. It would be a fabulous show. But nobody was. I gave the idea away to the studios that came here, the networks, and nobody. I said, you can have it. It's, give you the idea. Nobody's done it. And I don't know why Ancient Aliens hasn't latched on it, because those Indians have some incredible stories. You go and sit with them, and if you've got some Navajos with you, they'll tell you. And they're not in it for ego, they're not in it for money, they don't care. But if they, you have to, those people are so poor, you have to do something for them. You have to.
And these portal locations, do you think these are are they remnants of a distant past or possibly a distant future? Or are they a constant or intermittent portal in a location just due to specific time and like geology?
Good question. It's something nobody's ever asked me before. They've always been there, and the portal at the Bradshaw Ranch is still there, because about 6 months ago, 6 or 8 months ago, three very serious researchers had a major encounter on the Bradshaw Ranch. Well, I'll go into it just quickly. They were, and these guys had all the equipment. They had everything. They all had good jobs, and they positioned themselves around the Bradshaw Ranch. Now, this was, maybe 8 months ago now, and they had the best of best equipment. And so after dark, they saw so this has everything to do with the portal somehow. And I think the portal's there, and it always will be, but it goes dormant sometimes, I think. So anyway, these guys, one guy was real close to the portal. The portal was always just above the ranch to the east, and about 30 feet off the ground. It was pretty big. It was about 20 feet across in diameter. So these guys are positioned around the ranch. And I interviewed these guys for 2 hours. It was I've got it on tape. But anyway, one guy was up at the windmill. There's a windmill for the ranch there, and it's still operating. And he was up by the windmill. Big mistakes. Some really weird things have happened around that windmill. I don't know why. But anyway, they had all this equipment operating, and they saw a car coming down from the hill to the east of Bradshaw Ranch, but they knew where the road was, but it wasn't on the road. It was coming down through the trees, like it was a car driving down a road. Absolutely impossible. So it's like it's going around the turns, and it gets down to the flats on the Bradshaw Ranch, and it doesn't go through the gate, the big locked steel gate they've got. It drives right across the field, which is really rough, and right through a chain link fence. Didn't hurt. It's a chicken wire fence across a cultivated field that the University of Northern Arizona was doing something with. I don't know. They're doing research on native Arizona plants. And anyway, these three guys are watching this, right? So it was a perfect car, headlights, taillights, the whole deal. And so it made a turn. It went through the chicken wire fence twice again and stopped. And this girl gets out. She's wearing a white skirt, and she walks real fast around to the back of the ranch house. And the guy on the hill, I forgot this guy's name, had just seen a guy with white pants walking towards the ranch house below him. And so first thing I asked was, did the girl have enough time to take a pee? And they said no. She must have picked something up. Or the guy gave her something, So she went back, 10 seconds later, she went back to the car, walking fast, they said. Got in the car. Headlights, taillights, brake lights, the whole deal, drove through the chicken wire fence again, across that cultivated field, smooth as like it's on pavement, crossed out of the ranch, and up the hill, and disappeared. So, something happened to those guys when this was going on, because the guy up on the ranch was disoriented. One guy was fine; he was just fine, but the guy up on the windmill got so disoriented he got lost. He went, instead of going down to the ranch, he went up over the hill and got lost. And I'm thinking, wow, what, And I said, okay, now did you guys have any missing time? And he said, we were watching our watches every second. We didn't have any missing time. So, anyhow,
you're not going to believe this. You're not going to. You're not going to believe this. I was with that group of guys.
Oh, you were?
And you're absolutely right. It was, without a doubt, like you said, there was something taking place.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, how long ago was it?
It was quite a while. Well, like you said, it was one of those things where we knew what we saw, and there was no road there. This vehicle could not have come in that way.
Right.
And it's not like it's just one person saying this. And we had, like you said, we had night vision, thermal, we had, you name it.
Yeah.
And it all caught different things, but with the naked eye, we knew what we were seeing with, it's very difficult to explain so you're absolutely right. There is something there. And now you said that the phenomena is associated, well, at least real scientific research. I'm not talking about you said that it is now cordoned off, correct? And they're checking cottonwood growth. Is that classified, or can I actually say that?
No, it's just university stuff. It's not classified at all.
Okay, so now it's all restricted. So everybody knows it's all a restricted area. You cannot go in there, but they're checking things that we kind of wonder what this specific effort is for. Not that we're questioning, but what they're doing sincerely. But they could be checking that, but at the same time, it is a property. And if there are portals in the area, is it possible that they are being affected by that? And is that even something that they could share with us? I don't know if it is.
You wouldn't get anybody to talk about it. The Forest Service has got a real attitude about paranormal stuff. I know because I've had to deal with it for 25 years, and no, you wouldn't get anybody to talk. I've tried. It's that fire departments, police departments, and all that. You won't find anybody to talk. Well, no, you won't. So, but you were with those guys. Yeah, that's the last thing that I know. Big thing that happened. On the ranch, I was talking to Linda Moe now, and she didn't think it was any big deal at all. I'm going, wow, well, okay, that's
Oh yeah. We had an event of bilocation, and where I saw this guy literally go from one part of the property where he was talking to me on the walkie-talkie. We all had walkie-talkies. We were in constant communication, keeping up with the tempo and what's going on. Hey, did you see that? Yeah, we saw that. And the interesting part was I was talking to him, and then all of a sudden I saw him. And he was over by me. And then he was gone. And then I talked to him, and I'm like, where are you? And he's like, I have no idea. He was completely, like you said, disoriented. And no, there's a lot going on. And when you see these things and you're able to actually... there's something coming through, or there's some kind of there's a phenomena associated with it.
Well, there's something at the Bradshaw Ranch. Now, I've heard a million times that the government probably has a lot to do with it. I've never run across a shred of evidence that the government has anything to do with that there. Not a shred. So. I'm sure they've got a big portfolio and all that stuff, and probably got copies of my books that they've read, and notes in my books or whatever. But there's never been any government interference except for the Forest Service being pissed off about people trespassing on the ranch or camping too close to the ranch. I heard that they're arresting people now because it is private property, and there's still a lot of researchers going in there at night and taking pictures and whatnot. And somebody told me, they're arresting people now.
That's what I heard. I heard it's completely restricted. It's no longer even an option to do, it's not like it used to be. And on a whim, an interesting thing is that the now it seems like the more, even camping nearby, like you said, where in the past, I remember even tour organizations, like from a distance, would say, oh, there's the famous Bradshaw Ranch. But now they don't even want that. Like, I don't know. I also agree that I don't think there's a government. But I think it's a natural occurring, possible. There's questions in a location that portals seem to allow things to take place associated with this area in particular. Is that attention to Bradshaw Ranch, or has it always been something that, do you think that will kind of, there's got to be a point where people realize that this could be, and this is why I'm almost 100% for the university doing what they're doing and kind of locking the place down. Because is there a possibility that this is kind of a special area and maybe it should just be watched? Because that's what they're doing-ish, correct?
Well, it probably doesn't matter what anybody does. It's probably the paranormal phenomena is probably still going to go on, and there's going to be a lot of students there, and I don't think that a dormitory there would destroy the activity there. But time will tell, because we, it's kind of like it'll be really interesting to hear the stories, because I know it's still active. And it wasn't only you guys, but I've had people call me and tell me that they'd been on the Bradshaw Ranch and they saw this, that, and Bigfoot. I had a group. Oh yeah, now I remember. I did a talk to 19 women from Canada. And they all went on to the Bradshaw Ranch, took pictures, and they had experiences. And I'm trying to remember the best ones, but unless I write things down, I don't remember. But one girl came out and she said she had a muddy Bigfoot handprint on the hood of her car. And another girl described it, and I said, it hadn't rained in a long time, so. And she was parked just outside the gate at the Bradshaw Ranch, and another girl said, yeah, I saw it. It was this huge handprint, muddy handprint on the hood of her car. And I told her, I said, can you send me a copy of that photograph? And I never did. A lot of times I don't. So, so at any rate, let's see, I'm trying to remember the other stuff that the girls had, but I know the windmill was one. They had some kind of an encounter. Oh, one of the things that happens around that windmill, and this happened to a TV crew. The Animal Planet was out here one time. The guy, I don't remember who he was, but he went up there. He went up on the top of the hill to take a leak, and he didn't come back. An hour later, he came, and there was a filming schedule. They said, "Where the hell have you been?" Well, he said, I've been gone a couple of minutes. I went up to the top of the hill to take a leak. And he said, the funny thing is, I heard these strange voices and sounds of horses in the distance. And I was there when he came back. And so he had an hour of missing time, and he didn't realize it. And this was Animal Planet Discovery Channel.
Wow. That is like where time is of the essence, and you don't want to miss out on a minute. That's pretty fascinating. Is the phenomena associated with missing time, have you heard of any correlations with other locations where there is one location that somebody's missing time and then they're found in another location? I can't remember any that happened at the Bradshaw Ranch, but I would think that is a place where that could happen.
Well, on the Bradshaw Ranch, there was never any case of missing time that I know of, like a couple of hours, 2 or 3 hours, or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I'd have to. I'd say no. As far as I know, there's never been any cases of missing time. A lot of people don't. They don't look at their watch. They don't keep track of time, so they don't know. But that was not a big thing that happened, at the Bradshaw Ranch on any kind of a consistent basis, if it ever happened at all.
You're so right about the time. and how people just, they look at their phone. That's the best evidence. They just stick with that. They don't question it. They're not looking at a timepiece that may or may not be missing an hour. Good point. What do you think is, speaking of evidence, what do you think is the best evidence that you've seen to the existence of these dimensional portals?
Oh boy, stuff that I've seen. Well, that would be difficult. Well, you know, we've got all kinds of photographic evidence, but I had this thing going with Ancient Aliens. They were going to do a show on the Bradshaw Ranch. It fell through mainly because of interference from the Forest Service. Mm-hmm. But we were on the Bradshaw Ranch one night, and they had 7 dogs on the ranch, and they would, if a dog wandered on the ranch, they'd keep it, a lost dog. So anyway, they had 7 dogs, and the dogs would burrow in the sand in front of the ranch house, because in the winter to keep warm, in the summer to keep cool. So one night, Linda and I were just taking photographs, and all 7 dogs jumped up simultaneously and ran towards the old apple orchard. And unbeknownst to us, a creature had been watching us for probably hours. Mm-hmm. So, and the Ancient Aliens wanted to do a show on this, but it just didn't happen. It got too complicated.
Oh my gosh! Because the hidden power of that property is just phenomenal.
Yeah. So anyway, we the dogs ran. We had 3 million candle power spotlights, and we shined on where the dogs was going, and there was a creature there by the fence post. And the dogs were coming up on it really fast, and it started to. It didn't really run. It just half ran, half walked, and it was brown. Everything on it was humanoid, but everything was brown: skin, hair, clothes, shoes. Everything was brown, and it was about 5'6" tall. And we followed it when it went across the opening there by the ranch, and it got to a yucca tree, and it just disappeared, just blinked out. And then the dogs caught up with it, and it would not turn its face to look at us. And we ran into that time and time again. If we had a photograph of a being, it was never full face. It was always turned away from us. I think in all we got about 8 photographs like that. So anyway, next day, Linda and I went up there, and it was powder soft dirt out there, powder soft. A bird would have made a track, and there was only the tracks of the dogs, but no other tracks, no boot, no shoe tracks or anything else. And so Linda and I spent a couple hours just experimenting around that yucca tree, sticking our arms through, can you see my arm? Did my arm disappear? And it was so we didn't get sucked into a portal or didn't find one, but it disappeared.
It's absolutely fascinating, Tom, what you mentioned about this, like you said, the angles and the perception, how you wonder, there's no way I could have seen that, and you check things. And it's also interesting what you said about the Forest Service. I encountered that on my own with a group of individuals who we went up, and when you speak to these Forest Service people, even if you hike way in and go way in there into the deep country, you'll find that these people will say one thing if they're off the record and a completely different thing if they're on the record. And I find that fascinating.
Well, the volunteers, they're on their own time. They've got a uniform on, and they had no. I was in Boynton Canyon about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it was with 2 women, and I don't know how this woman found us. I really don't. I really don't. I wondered how in the hell did this woman find us? But we were, most of the people that go in there are city people that know absolutely nothing about snakes or anything else. So we were down in the creek. And this girl's yelling, "Don't go down there, there's snakes. Don't, you've got to come back on the trail, there's snakes down there." And I'm going, what a bunch of BS, no self-respecting rattlesnake would ever be around down here. So you've got to come back up here on the trail. And I don't know where that girl came from, because we were quite a ways back in Boynton Canyon. It was a 100-degree day. I'm just totally baffled. There must have been some kind of an electronic sensor that alerted her, and still I don't know where she came from. It makes no sense whatsoever. And this just happened about 3 weeks ago.
And there's there's a lot of strange instances like that. When did the phenomena start at the Bradshaw Ranch? Do you know that?
Yeah, Bob had been there since 1949. So as a guest, because Linda contacted me in 1988, and it evidently had been going on for about a year, because she was photographing orbs, getting photographs of orbs, and other strange things were happening around the ranch, strange sounds and all that. And so Linda, she sent me a letter with these orb photographs, and I was just delighted because I'd heard about the Bradshaw Ranch. I just wanted to go down there, and I spent the next 4.5 years there. But at the same time, Linda Crystal in Pine Bush, New York, was getting photographs of orbs. And Linda Crystal and Linda Bradshaw started the whole orb phenomenon. From there, it spread all around the world.
Amazing. Wow. Because, yeah, that was not a thing. This is a new... Now everybody knows what an orb is, you know, that it may be power incarnate floating through, whether light or day. And I've had people argue, oh, you can't see them in the daytime, or you can't see them in the nighttime. And similarly, you know, there's photographic evidence of both. Even on, you know, properties I've assisted on, like putting the cameras on, and there's photographic evidence of both. So there's it's something real that you guys were tapped into so ahead of your time. It's just fascinating. And I just wanted to wholeheartedly thank you for, you know, being on the show. And it's been such a pleasure and honor to have you on the podcast. Anything new coming? Anything that stands out to you from the area? Do you see anything that is of interest coming up, or is it just kind of one of these constant intermittent location time, you know, cyclical things with these portals?
Well, it's like you three guys down on the Bradshaw Ranch. It's just sporadic like that. It's not consistent at all. So you know, it's really you know, there's just too many people going into the canyons now. And I think it's you know, driving it away or whatever. You know, and you earlier on you were talking about the footprints and footsteps in the bushes. No creature was there, two-legged creature, but you could hear the sounds of the crunching. I've heard that. And I never hear those stories anymore.
Yep. They're still happening, and you know, I think a lot of it has to do with these locations that are magical, and you're so blessed to have been a part of, like, I think, in my opinion, the most energetic time. And probably one of the most magical spots on the planet ever, like one of the most magical ecosystems. And that's something I wanted to ask you. Do you think, how are we going to convince people that these are magical ecosystems that should be protected and not be, you know, dozed and, you know, houses thrown up, or I don't know, like, it's hard to explain, you know, because in a lot of characteristics, these are just badlands. But on the other hand, if they're actually locations that have portals and paths of power for interdimensional entities, this is a very important thing and kind of a very vulnerable and unique ecosystem that probably should be protected at all costs.
Well, you know, as long as money's to be made, it's not going to be stopped. When they develop Long Canyon, there are $3 million houses been built in Long Canyon, and that was one of the really great paranormal spots. And it's now, you know, in the back of the canyon, things are still going on, but not out where this new development is. You know, the golf courses and $3 million houses. I mean, so, you know, what are you going to do?
Right. It's just the way it goes, isn't it? It's well, hopefully we'll get a little traction sooner or later. It's been such a blessing to have you on, Tom. You're such a great guy, and I wish people knew you the way I did, because everything, I've never talked to a researcher that's been more honest to me about their actual experiences. And I think your photographic evidence is so far ahead of its time that, I mean, kudos, hats off to you. It's just an honor to always, you know, get your time and be able to speak with you about things that, you know, you're obviously interested in. I appreciate it. Well,
it's been a pleasure, Ryan. Thanks much. You know, while I'm still still here. I do like to talk about this stuff because people need to pay attention to it because it's real.
Well, if I have the opportunity, I just had a newborn, but if I get down that way, there's a possibility the next couple, well, we'll see. Okay, actually about 3 months. There's a possibility in the next 3 months, but I will definitely reach out to you because it would be great to chat with you again and just see you again. And I really appreciate your honesty and just your depth of perception into something that's so magical. Like, it's just such an amazing place. And thank you so much, Tom. You're such a researcher ahead of your time, and I think you always have your pulse on what's going on, and I appreciate having you on. Thank you.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Ryan. Thank you.
Take care. Bye bye.
You bet.
Oh my gosh. Is it me, or is Tom Dongo as real as they get? He's just the coolest cat. And he's exactly how he seems. He knows exactly what's going on. He's really in tune. And it was just an honor and a blessing to be able to have him on. As far as future casts, we are starting to get them lined up, stacked up, whatever you want to call it, backed up. But we want to also kind of like bring your desire into realization as well. So we're setting a way that we're going to be able to do that more interactive with, like, especially our patrons, our Podbean patrons, and hopefully we'll be having Patreon soon and be on iTunes, and I think we're on YouTube, so that's cool. It's happening. Keep in touch with HEROparanormal.com, and feel free to get the Podbean app. It's the easiest way to listen. Also, check out SpaceWolfResearch.com, which is like a research project we're doing. It's pretty fun, kind of the thing you'd expect. And keep in touch with everything going on Hero Paranormal, trying to bring you the heroes of the paranormal, the scientific, the fringe elements of society and culture. Soon we'll have things that delve into deeper, darker realms, and some that delve into extreme light. So there you have him, the man, the myth, the legend, the Ivy League when it comes to portal proximity locations, whether you're dealing with entities from other dimensions or possible Sasquatch, the phenomena associated with one particular ranch and associated with other canyons leading down to the ranch. What's with the canyons and the phenomena associated with them? Are portals in the area? Are these portals constant? Are they intermittent in location and time? What are they? Is anybody doing any real research like this guy did? No, not really. Of course, there are government conspiracies and possibilities that ownership is by, for example, the University of, well, the location that is currently being studied for cottonwoods. I'm just glad that the location's locked down because it's definitely magical. And such a pleasure to have the master, and an honor to have Tom Dongo, on the podcast. I went through a list of people and a variety of folks that have written in and others that I've been reaching out to regarding some of these subjects. And when it comes to the Bradshaw Ranch and the reality that through portal proximity, very similar to the Skinwalker Corridor, the valley there below Skinwalker Ridge, and the area that's been known as the path of the Skinwalker, the shapeshifter, where reality is bended through portal proximity and meditative states that are brought on through cultural either curses or witchcraft. And I sincerely believe that this is a seek and ye shall find type of a situation. In the proximity that Space Wolf Research is to the location, we've found things that have, our ability is doubted in the moment of discovery because you never know what you're up against. And what I can say is, having been a bit of a practitioner myself, at least like everyone else, just as a means to understand what we're generally talking about, I would have to say that those with good fortune, being of privilege, expect and usually receive leniency, justice, and opportunity, while those that are surrounded by other things don't. And I could see witchcraft being obtained and being used to cultivate and give instruction to those who want what the others have. And rituals for cursing and hexing your enemies. This is a very culturally, at least historically, accepted truth and fact that this is a possibility in the matrix of what can and cannot be, especially in the paths, the hidden paths that the secret leagues of black magicians use to gain power. And this is identifiable in Native American tribes. This is identifiable in the deep-rooted historical royalty of most generational cultures that have at least located themselves where the United States is now, as well as other parts of the planet. So there's very few cultures that are not touched by this power pyramid that seems to, not sincerely, but wholeheartedly be after power, domination, and hidden paths that lead to that. If you can, go to HEROparanormal.com, sign up at HEROparanormal.podbean.com, and you can get all kinds of awesome stuff like special episodes that aren't available to other people. You become an insider, get secrets of the bunker, is what I like to call it. I don't want to talk about it, but that's what you'll get. You'll also get special exclusive locationary data and things that happen on property that other people don't get. If you want to get texts or emails, just let us know. And definitely shoot over to Space Wolf Research, an actual research organization that is being privately funded. We need donations. We want special things like safety, not a big deal, or cameras. But yeah, it's very expensive. We're getting it done. Hold up. Last but not least, check out Utah UFO Hunters. And until next time, eyes to the skies, feet on the ground, but don't forget to take a look around.
Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an Visine. Blast off, blast off, blast off, blast off. Come blast off in my time machine. Third eye feeling like an